Good morning. How's everyone? So happy to be here among you, Mars pioneers. How many of you have been to Mars? I'm very impressed. Well, for others, have a sip of your coffee, and we're getting ready. We have about 27 minutes. I will take you to a tour to visit our city on Mars. You will have to imagine that we are in the year 2100. Amazingly, we have reached a population of 1 million people, as determined by Elon Musk in 2013. We are all living in a perfect environment here in the Marineris village. It's still improving, but it's clearly both serene and peaceful. How could we not be peaceful? We're 33.9 million away from Earth. No hurricane. I must admit that some of you today look quite strange, because it seems like you no longer need your spacesuit to walk around outside. I don't know if you remember back then, when the first humans landed and started the settlement, every time we wanted to go outside, we used to have to wear this huge, heavy, white, puffy, inflated, pajama-looking spacesuit, remember? So it looks like we're actually wearing our underwear outside after the short and the pants. Maybe it was inspired by this. And this is the woman version. Luckily for us, since then, the next generations, could choose our body design to adapt to our Martian atmosphere. We don't have to worry either, because none of us ended up like this green guy. This is all thanks to a concept that was developed by Gene Kim back a century ago in 2015. It's called Generation A1. So Jean Kim was studying architecture in Carnegie Mellon University. Her vision was one of the most unique. The idea was to continue the human evolution, that we would eventually adapt to our destination. In this case, it was Mars. At the time, like many innovations, it created a lot of resistance among the people. However, the design was selected as finalists of the first Mars City Design Competition. It's the first urban design competition for Mars that ever existed on Earth.
My project is titled Generation A1, and it's about the evolution of an entirely new generation of bodies that have evolved, what is keeping them from living in environments such as Mars today. So the generation spawns off of Homo sapiens, or us, I guess. They've adapted to live on the climate of Mars. So I began researching the extremes in which our bodies can adapt to through either genetic modification or adaptation, etc., and found out what things the body can adapt out of, such as climate. However, there's also things that our body may never be able to adapt out of, such as pressure or the need for oxygen. And so with those categories that we cannot adapt out of, I am looking at and proposing to design an architecture that will assist us in the life of this generation on Mars. So I'm looking at the design of suits or mechanical body prosthetics that have really assisted the lives on humans on Earth, and look how that could assist the lives of the new generation on Mars. So I guess in short, I'm looking at what architecture will mean to this new generation of people, what it could provide for those people in order to survive or just live comfortably on Mars. Is that I'm looking at this evolution of the new generation and people who are not really people that we know. So technically, I think it's unique because we know nothing about this future generation of people that we may evolve into. And so kind of having a lot of fun with this and seeing like what our bodies really can adapt into and change into, and also learning a lot about what our body needs in order to survive and what is survivability versus livability. And I think with that, a lot of new innovations such as technology, different kinds of smarter technologies can help us understand our bodies better and to gather data from what our bodies do in just a day-to-day life, and how that could change when entirely new generation is created. Then new cultures will be created, and how could that culture also influence the different architectures that would be created, because I believe they really do go hand in hand, culture and architecture. What could be used immediately on Earth to improve human life condition for my project is, looking at prosthetics and how architecture can assist this new generation can definitely apply and is being applied currently to Earth and human life right now, such as phantom limb technology and how it helps people who have recently lost their limbs understand and get acclimated to their body, their new bodies that may be missing a limb. And so that transition of people being able to adapt into that new body. So I think that is something I've been really researching into and is also a current technology on Earth right now and has been helping me a lot.
Today, for example, we're partnering with the Sol Systems tools, software that will give you 3D experience of training people with your new organ, the possibility of 3D printing lungs so you can breathe in a very short oxygen source. So we are now sitting in a Martian Starbucks. You cannot help but notice that people sitting around you are all speaking funny mix of languages. People from different countries on Earth were coming to Mars City Design workshop every year to actually develop some of the projects that they thought would be worth to spend time for to build this city on Mars. So all these people come to work together and build this platform, and they end up realizing that most of them can speak more than 4 languages, and each of them just keep talking, mixing the languages. That's how it started.
A 还是 delta
A 加 B
啊 A 加 B 等于 C
A 加 B
等于
变成 C
变成 C
对，它需要这么多能量。
日本語を勉強しました。
あ、本当ですか。すごいんだね。私も日本語勉強しましたけど。大学で勉強しました。それで。
そうですか。
本当になんかもっともっといいんですから。日本語。
でも私の日本語はとても苦手と思います。
あ、そっか。大丈夫です。だからなんか私中国語は。
Oui, pourquoi tu penses qu'il faut qu'on ait une collaboration aux États-Unis?
Parce que ici vous avez en fait tous les ingénieurs.
Jet Konam. Do you want me to confuse him? That's what I said.
Okay.
Oh yeah, then you can
No
go about
comprende.
it. Yeah. See?
It's valid. Okay,
yeah,
it's
reasonable accuracy. Yes.
And we can do that for several souls to see if it's.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, right.
خب چی میخوای بهت بگم؟ میخوای یکم گیجت کنم؟ فارسی بلد نیستی؟
نمیفهمم.
So, although we are all fluent now in Martian, getting back to the idea of serene, some of us no longer need to speak to communicate. Now on Mars in 2100, we can dialogue with each other through our mind signals. Thanks to Telepathy 2.0, it is a program originally created by Amina Jambo, a Mars City Design finalist back in 2017. Since she was a kid, she already liked the idea of telekinesis, being able to move stuff just from thinking of it. At the ancient time on Earth, we would call that a practice of witchery. But then later, they upgraded the name into magic. Now we know it is nothing but EEG brainwave control of robotic systems, exercise simulant that was combined with the Generation A1 technology, creating a feedback loop between the mind, the signal sent to the robot, and the robot sent back to the other's mind, and vice versa.
Telepathy 2.0 is a system that allows for the long-range control of robotic devices using BrainComputer Interface. BrainComputer Interface is a system that allows users to communicate with their environment using only their thoughts, or cerebral activity. The user is equipped with an EEG or electroencephalogram headset, which is calibrated to identify the electrical activity of the user. The neurons that fire when the user imagines moving the object are then recorded via EMG and translated into a series of discrete numbers via computer. Those signals are then amplified and sent to the device that is to be controlled. for example, a robot or a drone. In this way, we can begin to explore the surface of Mars, conducting tests in ways that are a bit more controlled. This can allow for more advanced experiments that can be conducted on the Martian surface, and also will potentially eliminate the problems that arise with rover exploration at present. For example, rovers getting stuck on craters or rocks. This technology is already being implemented at universities such as the University of Texas San Antonio, the University of Florida, and University of Maryland. At the University of Texas San Antonio, researchers have developed a system that enables a single person with no prior training to fly multiple drones simultaneously through mind control. This technology is currently being used primarily in the realm of assistive technology for handicapped patients, but I believe that applying it to the remote piloting of robotic systems for space exploration holds great promise.
That telepathy 2.0 technology is pushed to another level by the Mars Design team and had created an Olympic Games here on the Olympus Mount. So it's a little different than the ones we used to on Earth. Here on Mars, the rover hiking race is the most popular game. In fact, it's so popular that our friends on Earth decided to get involved. And they played with us remotely from their planet. When they started this, they used to have 20 minutes delay between the time they send their thoughts to the time their rovers here would receive instructions, so we always won. Human had always been fascinated by how the brain works. In fact, this one architect was so curious, imagining how the circulation of a city would be like on Mars, so he used the design of human brain and how informations were stored in the memory and the circulation that happened when we think. He conceptualized this for the Mars city. It's called Neurosynthesis by Karen Gandhi from Manchester, UK. Back to the rovers. Do you know that our first settlement on Mars was near the lava tube Syrtis Major? It's close to Jezero crater. These rover builders were designed by an architect team from Iran, Reza Eslami and Asal Shokati. They call it Nomadicizer. It's a multifunctional detachable transportation device, construction machine, drone, and robot mobile station. The robotic modular machine can provide a large spectrum of services for exploration and construction on the Martian surface. This machine can separate itself into two fully functional pieces while having robotic arms and drones available to it, and apparently we can also ride on it. Our first settlement in the lava tube was sadly short-lived. Elon Musk's triplet sons were bored living underground and expanded their dad's boring company to move us all to the first city ever built on the surface of Valle Marineris. So the first habitat built in this location was very unique. It's a musical building created by a team originally from a distant island called Puerto Rico. Yeah, you heard me right, a musical building. It's called Marscapes. And humans might be asking, is it possible to listen to music on Mars? You know, with the raw sound transmitting atmosphere? Well, now it is. And thanks to this brilliant team who solved the problem.
Hello guys, my name is Romery Gonzalez.
And I'm Arturo Hernandez, and welcome to Phase 2 of Smart City Design.
Earthscape, Marscape, and Mindscape is our interpretation of Earth environmental for human and Mars ecosystem. We took as inspiration some sceneries from Earth, such as the ocean, such places as tropical places, deserts, some cities, forests, and cold climates.
If we are going to start a new city on Mars, we can't forget where we are from. And most importantly, the people that will live on those cities will be from different backgrounds, from different places all over the world. So we need to have something related to those people on our new city so they feel right at home. The single hexagonal unit that creates our city not only will be the place to, the unit that makes the city on Mars, but also it becomes a transport mechanism because we can manufacture them on Earth and then send them to Mars.
At first intention, the Gale crater was the site for the project, but after we continue with the design strategies, we figured that our city can be placed elsewhere on Mars because the pods are coming from Earth and the main infrastructure is going to be 3D printed on site. So the first stage of the project will be the 3D printing of the main frame, and secondly, when the crew arrive, then the city will be assembled. You can see also an overview of the project with the main nodes and the links that compose the city.
So life would be hard without music, right? Because we need to nurture our 5 senses and rest our minds. In fact, in every corner on Mars, you will find mind-resting cabins called the 8th sense. So these are the collective devices that can awaken beyond your 6th sense. This device is like your mental and psychological gym coach. It assists you personally to your well-being, beside, of course, the Mars yoga. It was invented by Adrian Pelkis to help astronauts on long duration of flight to Mars. This was patented in early 2017. Now, let's look up to the sky. You happened to witness a beautiful wedding ceremony here on Mars on some traveling balloons, originally created by the ex-team of École Polytechnique in Paris in 2017 as well. In fact, the first version of these balloons were designed to collect samples on our home planet on Mars.
We have decided to do a dihydrogen balloon in order to develop Martian tourism so that people can see their planet a different way. Main challenges are to land and take off safely, both for passengers and structure.
Private investors from mid-2020s then sent hundreds of these advanced design balloons to study the environment of certain inaccessible areas by the rovers. The original projects was created by this united group of engineers and scientists from Titan Systems, the Planetary Society, Kinesis, and Google Loon, which then adapted by Mars City Power Workshop team in 2017. And this is what it It's just one version of it. So at night, there is a light in the balloon to communicate with the satellites that will know where they are located. Now we hop into one of these balloons from the top of Olympus Mons. We are now above a forest on Valle Marineris. You hear it right, a forest. Mars with no atmosphere like on Earth was unimaginable to have even one tree. So anyone knows who had started this forest plantation? We call them Kilometer Zero, a project envisioned by Scott Getz in 2014. It's determined to be able to grow the first tree on Mars. He created a device to monitor the hormone of a tree, then further able to regulate its earthly hormonal equilibrium. So he said the seasonal rhythms of a tree are a reaction to the environs in which it is situated. If the environment cannot be mended, the tree may be modified. Distorting a tree's hormonal equilibrium allows the growth of the trees in the harshest of environments, even otherworldly ones. But how does this work? He included the bacteria, fungi, decomposing matter, the live soil in the gardening package, mixed it with the Martian soil that became biologically active for tree growth. The sensing swarms are installed prior to Kilometer Zero's activation by way of the Mars rover, and they communicate impending weather events to Kilometer Zero, initiating hormonal modifications. At the appropriate time, flowering is initiated and seed set in induced, creating the first Martian germplasm. The concurrent seedlings are acclimatized to the Martian extremes, oxygen levels increased and reached the livable 12% human lives. So in the middle of this forest, we have a park, and this sculptural structure exhibiting precious trees are the collection of different trees from different countries on Earth. This artwork is called the Tree of Life. That was designed by Samer El-Sayeri, an architect from Egypt. And it's self-sufficient. It creates electricity by itself. So I'm sure with all this history and travel, you're all starving. Our lush farming and food production that is no longer an issue on Mars is thanks to Huxley and Mars Farm, who had taken care of it for the past century. Huxley had always used drone monitoring the plants and AR to augment the rapid performance of our farmers, while Mars Farm, run by Eddie, had over the last 100 years connected our 1 million Martians to 20 billion humans on Earth and in international space stations to the Eddie food computer. The system is a distributed network of individual mini farms and food production systems that considers individual phenotypes, genotypes, and past and future attachment to food, like taste, memories, biochemical performance, and grow fresh food as energy and medicine daily for us Marinerians. This is all adapted to local Mars macro and microclimates, of course. So the advance of Eddie's system in understanding cellular reaction to food choices and staving off infections, boosting immune systems that Marinerians will likely never need to use medicine again. Okay, so I wanted to know what time it is. We're nearly ending. Speaking of this time, the X version of Mars Clock is created by Dean Little from Australia. It's already integrated in our Martian bodies. We are set up for 24 hours and 40 minutes circadian rhythm. Dean Little is a genius inventor from Australia who is a big fish swimming in a small pond because Aussie didn't have a space agency. So after he joined the Mars Design platform, he was becoming very confident that despite obstacles, he could contribute his talents for the space exploration. So he works for Ripple, a reusable rocket company from Norwegia. Okay, now it's time for us to come back to our activity. Welcome back to Earth. The whole mission about Mars is about impacting the human story. So we learned how this movement created by this innovative platform had touched the most important thing beyond what life looks like now on Mars. Individuals who are committed to take the challenges together with Mars City Design end up changing their lives to live to the fullest, to inspire and to touch the lives of their surroundings. This is what we do on this platform in Mars City Design. We envision that today is our future history. So we better advance and make use of our imagination to create a world that we want to live in the future. If it is not fun, why would we do it? So life should be beyond survival sometimes, or rather, let's survive creatively. I just want to make one announcement. Our next competition is open next week, September 15th, with the sponsorship of the SALT systems. We have different categories of urban design to robotics, transportation. We are also highlighting the second phase of Mars sample return to try to contribute to the NASA program. Finally, I wish to see you next month, October 12th. Please note on your calendar. We will celebrate the winning designs of this year at the Skirball Cultural Center along with Digital Hollywood events. And you can find more information, of course, in our website, marscitydesign.com, or come see me after. And I wish to thank many of you. Thank you, Dr. Zubrin, for inviting me here. Government and industry organizations who have been very supportive to this very new startup. Thank you for sharing the journey to Mars with me. I hope you had a pleasant trip to Mars. Thank you.